Okay, now we are going to talk about your important documents and what accounts you have. Online accounts, banking accounts, all that kind of stuff here. We're going to talk about what accounts do you have, where are they located, are they online or offline, where are the statements, and does anybody else know about these accounts if something should ever happen to you? That's always a big question. So I want you to ask yourself right now, if you were, very sadly, to all of a sudden no longer be here, would your loved ones be able to easily pick up the pieces and know where your documents are, what accounts you have, and how they gain access to that? It's a conversation not a lot of us want to have, but I want to share a little story with you. So think about that, you right now, your current state of where you are with your organization with this stuff. So my story has to do with two very, very dear friends that passed away. So one of them passed away in 2008 and one of them passed away in 2016. And I'm going to talk about some of the big differences with trying to pick up the pieces after they were gone. Okay, so first of all, we had paper statements back in 2008 and 2016. A lot of stuff is paperless, and even more so now. All right, so back in 2008, my friend was very organized, and he had paper statements like most of us. I mean, 2008, it sounds like not that long ago, but when we think about the fact that Facebook just started in 2007, that gives you an idea of how long back 2008 really, really is. So back then, everything was paper statements. He was very, very organized. He had a file folder with all of his statements in there. He had a will in the file folder. And worst case scenario, if something wasn't listed, eventually a statement was going to arrive in the mail. So you would become aware of that account existed. Now, when we fast forward to 2016, my friend, everything was paperless. Everything was online, no paper statements anywhere. He moved out of state about 6 months before he passed away. And I also want to add, both of these people died very suddenly. There was no seeing this coming at all. So he moved out of state about 6 months before. He had a storage facility. Nobody knew where that storage facility was. Nobody knew how he paid for it. Again, like I've mentioned, everything was online with all of his accounts. Passwords, nobody had any passwords. Nobody had any passwords to his social media accounts, to his online banking accounts, to his credit cards, all that kind of stuff. And he did not have a will. So when we take a comparison to the way that these two situations unfolded, it's very, very different. And the thing with these paperless statements is a lot of these companies, they encourage you to have a paperless statement. Why? Because it's a lot less expensive for them if they don't have to mail statements. And sometimes when you log into that account, you know, this box will pop up and it'll say, please verify how you would like to receive your statements in the future. And sometimes the one that's paperless is automatically selected, and you might not even be thinking about it, and you just click OK, thinking you're going to be getting the statements the same way in the mail if that's how you currently were, but that's not the case. So when you do log on and that little box pops up, make sure if you want to receive paper statements that you click paper statements. Otherwise, sometimes we are automatically enrolled in paperless, not knowing. Okay? So anyway, we're going to have a link after the video that you're going to be able to click on, and you're going to be able to download a little sheet that's going to show you not only keeping track of what documents that we have. There's an excellent link that I'm going to provide that gives you a list of all the things that you should be going to look for. So you're not just aimlessly wandering around your house trying to figure out, what am I supposed to be getting that's important? All right, now the next thing is our accounts. So we have our assets and we have our financial obligations. So first, let's talk about the good stuff. Let's talk about the assets. So again, are those online accounts or paperless statements, paper statements? Where are they? Are we getting access to them? Can we give a list to somebody that these are all of the investment accounts that we have? 401k. This is a very important one because a lot of people change jobs and maybe they didn't tell their spouse they had a 401k, maybe somebody forgot about it, and 20 years down the road, someone's trying to put the pieces together and they might not even know that there was a 401k. So this is a good time to take an inventory of all of your 401ks that you've had for your career, and then just go through and start contacting those employers and roll them over so they're all in at least one account, or at least you know where they are if you don't want to roll them over. So whoever is trying to put your pieces together knows that they need to contact those employers to get the information. And your hard assets, do you have jewelry hidden somewhere? Do you have paintings somewhere? Remember the storage facility. If you have one, make sure somebody knows where it is and how they can get into it. And your home vehicle, your home or your vehicle, where are the titles to this, the deed to the house, anything like that, and how do you gain access to that? So we're also going to provide an account tracker, which you're going to be able to list your account. How do you gain access to it? Meaning, is it paperless? What's the login information, and all that kind of good stuff. So now our financial obligations. Now this is also going to be a handy little thing that we're going to do just to verify what is showing up on our credit report. So what we're going to do is we're going to run a credit report. I'm going to provide a link for you to go in there, run it for free. It does not harm your credit in any way. You're going to go in there, you're going to run the credit report, and it's going to show all of your financial obligations. So number one, this is a good way for us to kind of get a roadmap for knowing we have to go find the mortgage information, knowing we have to find this credit card information. It's also going to give us a chance to go over and to verify, are we aware of these accounts? Are these accounts that we actually opened? It's a good time to take a look to see, make sure you're not a victim of identity theft. And do we need them? Do we need all these credit cards? I bet there's going to be some credit cards that are going to pop up on there that you're not even going to remember that you had. So let's close those, because that also helps your credit too. You don't want to have too many credit card accounts open. So if you don't need them, let's cancel them. And if you do have a credit card account that's open, where is the card? Do we know? I don't know. Take a look. And then we're going to cancel any unused, unwanted credit card accounts that we have. So by running the credit, it's a good way just to kind of look quickly. Your mortgage will show up there. Your credit cards will show up there. If you have student loans, they'll show up there. And then again, like I just mentioned, that's going to help you go around and gathering up all these documents and keeping track of what it is that we have. Okay, so to quickly recap, we are going to have a link where we're going to track our documents, we're going to list the documents, we're going to notify how can you find out about these documents, where they are, that kind of thing, and we're going to store them safely. I always recommend either in a fireproof filing cabinet, or if you would prefer, they make these fire-resistant document bags. I'll put one of those in the link in as well. And what you can do is you can put all of your important documents in this fire-resistant packet, and then you can grab it and go. If God forbid, like in California when they had those fires, they had to quickly get out of the house, so you could grab these document bags and you could go. That's one option. And then we also want to make sure that we are sharing with at least one other person about these documents. Where are they? What's included in there? Someone else should know about where your important things are. So that's going to be the document link. We're going to have that. We're also going to have the account tracker, which is going to list the accounts. And again, list how do you gain access to them, what's the username, the password, that kind of thing. And we're going to share it with somebody. And speaking of, one more thing, passwords. Okay, as everything is more and more online, we have passwords for everything. And sometimes, most of the time, probably, we don't share that information with anybody. So now you're no longer here and somebody has to try to put these pieces together. And if they had a password list, now this doesn't mean we're going to give them the passwords now, but if we put the password tracker together, and again, we have the password, the account, the username, and the login information, all that kind of stuff, we can keep it somewhere secure, and then we can have a note somewhere else that if you let someone know, should something happen to me, you can go here, XYZ location, and you'll be able to find my documents and my passwords to get into my systems. Okay? So now let's imagine, remember before, when we were picturing ourselves before this little presentation, how organized we were. Do we even know where stuff is? Does anyone know that it exists besides me? And imagine now, if we actually did this, we had a document tracker that had all of our important documents together in one nice location and somebody knew about them. And let's imagine all of our accounts. If we had a list of them, how to gain access to them, and somebody else knew about that, and as well as the password tracker. So now, if somebody, a loved one, had all this information and something was to happen to you, they would be able to settle your estate. Now, this is a sad enough time as it is when someone's going through something traumatic like this, and you're going to make it a lot easier on your loved ones if we all get a little organized. I myself am a hot mess when it comes to all this, so when I was putting this whole thing together, I actually went through and I put all of my things together and I organized them, because if anything happened to me, it would be a disaster to someone trying to pick up the pieces and figure out where things are. And I don't really think that that's the fair thing to do to people. I look at my parents, for example. My father is in charge of everything, and my mom does not necessarily know where everything is. And that's not good. It's not good. She's not computer savvy. And my father probably has most of his stuff in his computer in a list somewhere, I'm sure, but is she going to be able to find it? I don't know. So it's always a morbid thing to talk about. Nobody's comfortable with it, but it's just a good little thing to say, let's get ourselves a little bit more organized, gather our stuff, share it, and have it be securely stored. Okay? If you'd like to learn more about any of these other topics related to organizing, identity theft, cyber criminals, or scammers, you can always go to my online classroom, which is cybermesmart.com, and you can check out some of the other courses that I have. They are going to be growing around throughout time, but there's a few on there now that you could take a look at. And I hope you learned a lot and are actually going to put some of these things into practice, because I guarantee you will feel much, much better after you do.